The following is a presentation of the IH Sports Network. You're listening to the Monday Night Roundtable. For the next 2 hours, we'll talk local high school sports with the voice of the Oneida Indians, Tim Smith.
10-5, touchdown, Indians.
Give me the corners. 2 scores, baby.
Give me the corners.
The voice of the Scott Highlanders, Rick Keaton.
Throw the ball, has a receiver long upfield, chasing it down. Made by Rylan Griffin. He'll take it all the way to the end zone.
Produced by the IH Sports Network, the Roundtable begins now.
Good Monday evening, everyone. Welcome to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. We are live from the C. Michael A. Technology Center in Helenwood. I am Ben Garrett, along with the voice of the Scott Highlanders, Rick Keaton. Tim Smith is unable to be here tonight. He is on vacation, so we wish him safe travels. Wish he were here, Rick, but tonight it's just the two of us. We've got a 2-hour show that's going to be jam-packed with guests. Somehow we'll manage without Tim, I think, and we're going to do it.
If our guests participate 100% buy-in, we're in great shape.
We're going to do it well enough to make him jealous and show him that we can do it without him. Because you know what? I'm guessing that wherever he's at tonight, he thinks – because, he's feeling froggy because the Atlanta Falcons won last night.
He
was there.
Be, yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to think that we can't pull it off. We're going to prove him wrong. We have soccer to talk about. We have football to talk about. We got to thank Greg Bond, Leetta Boyd, all the folks here at the Scott County Schools Technology Department for their hospitality tonight. Baby J's Pizza for the pizza here tonight. If you're in the area, stop by and join us. Support these student athletes who will be joining us a little bit later on tonight. We'll be talking soccer and football. And Rick, as always, we start with football, and we're going to start by talking about Scott High's loss to Kingston on Friday night. Homecoming for the Highlanders, a 39-0 game. Now, on paper, 39-0 looks pretty lopsided. But there were a lot of things, a lot of positives to take away from that game, I thought.
Ben, I certainly thought so. I mean, Kingston, they shocked us a little bit to start with. They got the opening kick. They went 80 yards, got the touchdown score, led 7-0. On our next possession, we sort of gave up the ball. We botched a snap. Kingston gets a good field position again. Actually, our Highlander 34-yard line. A couple of plays later, they score a touchdown. They have a 14-0 lead, and we're just sort of – haven't even put our feet really on the field much like that. So they had the 3 first-half scores. The Highlanders did have that final possession of the first half. We started at our 80-yard line. We started at our 20-yard line. We take the ball 78 yards, get down to the 2-yard line, and then just stall out. We were 2 yards, whatever that 2 yards is, from being a touchdown, which would have made it a 2-touchdown differential, getting possession of the football to start the third quarter. It's that middle segment of the game, the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 minutes of the second half, and you can get back in a game. If it breaks for you that way and you get that last possession of the first half, you're going to get the first possession. And then we got that first possession. The coaches went in to halftime. They didn't feel that bad. They thought we'd made adjustments. That last possession, we moved the ball offensively, and they were feeling good about that. Then the injury to Landon Griffith, fighting for extra yardage on a 9-yard carry. I believe that was on a first down play. So,
yes.
He went out of the game. Backup came in. We fumbled the ball. Kingston got it again. Short field position. They ended up, a credit to the Highlander defense, bowling up and stopping Kingston right then. Kingston did get the field goal. But, the ifs and the ands and, when they occur in the game, how they affect you, certainly played a role in the game the other night. And like I said, if you were there, you're thinking, 21-0 is not that bad. If we could have punched it in, and if we could have done the same thing to open the third quarter.
And I don't mean to take anything away from Kingston. They were clearly the better team. If they played 10 times, Kingston probably wins 10 times. Mm-hmm. But it's just Coach Charles Godin talked about after the game the missed opportunities. You look at it at halftime, as you said, Scott had just gone 78 yards, and they stalled out on the 2. If they're able to punch that in, and then Kingston had scored their third touchdown on a busted play. There was a penalty flag thrown initially. That wasn't the play they scored on, but it got them to the goal line. We all thought that it was going to be an ineligible receiver, and it was close. It could have gone either way, but they waved the flag off, and so Kingston scored there. even still, and this is what Coach Golden was talking about, even without the penalty, there were players in position to make that stop. It was 2nd and 20 already. You make the sack there, it would have been 3rd and 25, 3rd and 26, and so Kingston's probably not going to convert that. Could have very easily been the 14-7 game at halftime, and that's without even talking about what you already mentioned, and that is the fumbled punt, the fumbled snap on the punt that led to Kingston's 2nd touchdown. That could have been a much, much different game at halftime.
It sure could have. So you got to be pleased with the way that we tried to come out, play hard, battle Kingston. On their first possession, it looked like, hey, this is going to be another one of those oh-no nights. But we battled. We tried to get ourselves in positions. And, a lot of credit goes to the Highlanders. Still a youthful team in terms of all-around playing time. But they battled, and we saw, I feel, some improvement from them from the previous 2 games, Clinton and Knox Central, Central Kentucky. So we saw a much better, I think, type of matchup. Let's go out and see if we can win. And these kids had not played Kingston for the previous 2 years. We'd had a realignment when they were freshmen after their freshman year, so we were not in the same region or district with Kingston. So they hadn't seen them, and, they don't know a whole lot about. We consider that a real rivalry. I don't know that, and I've said it during broadcast before, I don't know that the folks at Kingston considers it a rivalry. I think their rivalry is with teams like Meigs County, other teams that are more south of Kingston on I-40. So.
All right, so as you've already mentioned, once the injury to Landon Griffith occurred, that game was, for all intent and purpose, over at that point. It just sucked the air out of everything. I assume you've got an update on his injury, but the good news is he's going to be okay.
Good news is he's going to be okay. Had a battery of tests, ran over at UT through the night, Friday night into Saturday morning, and he actually got released, I think, about 6 a.m. on Saturday morning. So, got all his feeling back, and he didn't have any feeling in one leg, so got all his feeling back and everything. It's just, how long will he be out? And, hey, the great thing is this is an open date for the Highlanders. It gives him a big chance, a week to heal, and I imagine he's going to have a follow-up back with the doctors before he would be fully released to play. I meant to call somebody and find out about that today, but I just ran out of time to do that. But certainly Landon had been showing some flashes. Remember, he's been a wide receiver. He's been a defensive back until this spring, no snaps as a quarterback. So he's had to learn that position. As younger receivers are learning that, even our running backs, even though Fitzgerald is a senior, sometimes Whaley is a senior, we go with some sophomores and stuff in the running back position. So not that much experience, but Landon has been working hard to be a competitive quarterback football player.
And so, as you mentioned, Scott High off this week. They do not play. Good opportunity to get everybody healthy and get ready for the second half of the season, because you got a really, really good Whitley County team coming in a couple of weeks, coached by Matt Reimer, who we're all familiar with. He used to be the head coach at University of the Cumberlands. Then the week after that, 2 weeks from this Friday night, Union County comes to Scott High. It's senior night, so it's a big game anyway. But that is a really big game because of the implications riding on that game, the biggest game of the season coming up in a couple of weeks.
The Highlanders still control their destiny. It's hard to say that, but destiny that we're talking about is a chance to get to the playoffs. You make the playoffs, then you worry about who, where, what, and when you're going to have to play, but you make the playoffs. And they still have Union County coming up. They've still got Austin East coming up, and they got Alcoa coming up, and all things are possible. That's why we play the game on that football field. It's 120 yards long out there from back of the end zone to the other end zone there. That's why we play the games, and Alcoa may be off that week. That may be their fall break. Who knows these things? And only half the team shows up, but. Those two, Union County and Austin East games, very important for the Highlanders down the road. And each game is important now to play better, play hard, correct mistakes, find the balance offensively, put points on the board. That's what we haven't been doing since the Eagleton game, but put points on the board and become a threat to these other teams.
And speaking of playoffs, Oneida also with a big win on Friday night. I wish Tim was here to talk about that one because it was definitely the most exciting game of the season to this point. I don't think a lot of folks expected Oneida to go down to Benton, Tennessee and get the win over Polk County. Polk County, one of those teams, along with Bledsoe County, that some folks thought might be a challenge to York in this new region. I tell you what, the way Oneida's playing right now, they're saying they're the challenge to York in this new region. And Coach Jimmy May was very blunt after the game. He said, I'm tired of people picking against us. And it does seem like every week people come up with a reason why Oneida can't win, and they just continue to find ways to win, and now they're 4-1 going into the halfway point of the season.
I think the two, as we want to say, big dogs in that region right now is Oneida, and it is York. Oneida still has
Bledsoe County will have something to say about that.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm looking at who's sitting there. Who's sitting there with 0 losses in the region right now, and it's those two games or those two teams. It'd be worth watching that matchup going there. It seems like that game's at York, maybe. I'm not sure. But I hope it's at Oneida. Just there's various reasons I say that I hope it's at Oneida. But those two
I believe
teams,
it is at Oneida, actually. I believe it is.
And that works well. That is much in Oneida's favor to host that game on their home field, to get their fans excited, get their student section excited about that. But I look at those two teams, and I think they'll finish 1-2. In the region.
And as you mentioned, those are the two last undefeated teams in that region. Oneida, with that win over Polk County, virtually assured themselves of a playoff berth. Now, they could still happen. It would have to be very unusual. They're probably going to the playoffs. Now, the more important thing is Oneida with a win over Polk County is they keep themselves in contention to not only host a playoff game, but also, if they can beat York, win that region championship, get the 1 seed. So all their preseason goals still in play. They're 4-1. It didn't look likely for a long time. We were following this game down in Huntsville at Highlander Field. It was 17-7 Polk County going into the fourth quarter. Then Oneida started making plays in the fourth quarter, as they're apt to do. Drove the length of the field twice, got a couple of touchdowns, and made a goal line stand right at the end of regulation. Won the game 21-17. They're doing it with their offense making plays at opportune times. It's not always pretty, but they find a way. And the big thing for Oneida so far has been the play of their defense. And this Oneida team, you go back to, this is the third year Jimmy May has been the head coach, and Martin Martin has been his defensive coordinator for the entirety of that 3 years. And you go back to the beginning of this thing, and Tony Lambert had been the Oneida defensive coach for so long, with the exception of 2010, 2011, when he was at Scott High. He had been the defensive coach at Oneida going all the way back to 2005. That's a long time. So I think there were a lot of questions. Will the defense take a step back? What's it going to look like? Coach Martin Martin has done a fantastic job with that defense. Year 1 was phenomenal. Year 2, they took a step back. They lost a lot of people to graduation. But now in year 3, they're right back looking like they did 2 years ago. It's a really good defensive football team.
I was talking to my nephew Saturday, and I said, hey, did you play in the game? He said, didn't get a chance to because the 2 linebackers ahead of him, made like, 18 and 20 tackles?
Yeah, 37 tackles between Ben Gilbert and Caden Birchfield. Braden Birchfield, I'm sorry.
I mean, that's tremendous leadership from those 2 young men. And I'll mention another youngster that I like the way that he leads his team, and that's Caden Rector. I think they've got a bunch of competitors, Lemberg for one, but Rector, you get him to the fourth quarter, and if it's close, he's the edge, I think.
Doesn't panic.
Doesn't panic at all. He has all this confidence in the world. Last week at the round table, I sat beside him back there for just a few minutes, and I said, you reckon you can maybe be the most valuable player that we'll have on the round table next week? He said, I don't know. I mean, but he has this confidence about him that I think Coach May realizes that, and along with the other coaches, and they depend upon him to make it happen on the field. And it seems like he's always doing that.
Yeah, so a lot to feel good about for both of these two teams as we head into the second part of this season. We'll talk more about the games that are coming up this week as we get later into the night. But first, we're going to talk about soccer. And coming up next, we're going to be joined by Scott High Junior's Bella Sharp and Abby Henson as the roundtable continues. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network alongside the voice of the Highlanders, Rick Keaton. I'm Ben Garrett. Tim Smith is not here tonight. He is away for some rest and recreation. And we're joined now by Scott High Juniors, Bella Sharp, and Abby Henson. Guys, thank you for joining us. And as we jump right into this, Bella, I'm going to start with you. You have become a mainstay with the Scott High program in the keeper position. And I want to ask you, as I thought earlier, what am I going to ask Bella about? I wanted to ask, you didn't play keeper in middle school, did you? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I did 8th grade, and
You
that's
did?
all.
Okay. So my question is, when you got to Scott High, did you see yourself stepping into the keeper role, especially as early as a freshman?
No, I thought like maybe eventually I'd get to it, but definitely not as a freshman. I was not good enough.
And now you correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to assume that maybe there, at least at times, you would rather be out on the field.
Absolutely.
Okay, but your team needs you in the goal, so that's where you've been, and you have dedicated yourself to that. You've been going to goalie camps at the University of Tennessee, and you've made a bunch of saves. In my opinion, Rick, I don't know how often you've seen the Lady Highlanders play. I think you're one of the better keepers in the district, despite the fact that your coach, Eric Henry, always says that you're too short to play that position. He wishes you would grow. So just talk about the growth process and the maturity process of playing as a keeper at a really high level of high school soccer.
Well, my freshman year, I spent most of it crying because I felt I did so bad. But then I realized I had to do something to get better, that wasn't going to work. So my sophomore year, I just kept focusing on drills and stuff and trying to improve. And then this summer, I decided maybe I should do something that might actually help. So I decided to go to UT because I heard that it was really good. And when I got there, I wanted to leave. That was the roughest thing I think I've ever done.
There's a little fear factor there when you're getting really good soccer players coming at you and launching off of them big feet that they've got sometimes, and you're thinking, oh, no. And see that ball sailing at you 60 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so that what I was going to say next is you have become really good and really fearless at going out to meet these players. Maybe you wouldn't have done that as a freshman, but you will step outside and go meet these players who are coming at you, and you've made a lot of one-on-one stops outside the six. What goes through your mind as you're in that situation where it's one-on-one and you're the only thing between that player and the goal and you're going out to meet them?
Well, most of the time, I really just think about how I want to hurt them. As bad as it sounds, I'm just like, if I can take them out and maybe hurt them enough, they can't play. So then I won't have to worry about them again. And other times,
honest answer.
If they're like really big, I'm just like, oh, I'm going to get hurt, but I'm going to try my hardest.
And so far, you've really not a couple of minor injuries, bumps and bruises mostly, but you've been okay. You've fared well against these bigger players. So what do you think? A growth spurt before senior year, or the height you've got now, Coach Henry's just going to have to live with it?
I think I will not be getting any taller, so I think he's going to have to deal with that. But I can jump pretty high, so.
Absolutely. All right, Abby, you have played kind of a couple of different spots. You've played midfield some. You're on the wing now. You've kind of settled into that wing position, and you've got the physical attributes to play that. You're long and lanky. How have you adjusted to that position? She is speechless.
Yeah.
Too tough a question, but just answer it as you can.
I think Henry put me there because I'm really tall and I'm fast, so I can get the ball. And the people in center mid can send me the ball and flag it. So
you kind of like Bella. You contributed as a freshman, didn't get a ton of playing time, but you saw the field as a freshman. You saw it more as a sophomore. Now that you're a junior, obviously you're on the field and you never leave the field. Talk about your growth process through high school soccer. What has it been like getting to the point you are now?
Well, from how I was a freshman, I was not aggressive at all. I didn't go for the ball. And I think I was just really scared. So, it's a lot different from middle school soccer. So I kind of just got used to like how other teams are like so aggressive, and I got used to Henry too. So
does anybody really ever get used to Eric Henry?
Good question.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but I think now I've gotten a lot more aggressive. So.
And you talked about how different high school soccer is, and a lot of people might not realize that at the middle school level in Scott County, girls soccer is played in the spring along with the boys because it's inter-county soccer. And so you're playing with kids that you know. You're playing those games in the spring, and then 4 months later, you're out there in August on a high school soccer field playing girls that are a lot bigger, a lot faster. What is that first game like when you get out there?
It's pretty terrifying, honestly. So I was used to being like super tall, like one of like the biggest people. And then when I got into high school soccer, there was a lot of like big people, It was really scary.
All right, so in addition to soccer, both of you guys are multi-sport athletes. You both run track, and you both did pretty well at track. You especially had a big spring this past year and did well. Talk about that. Do you learn anything in soccer that carries over to track, or do you learn anything in track that carries over to soccer?
Well, we do a lot of running for Henry, so I feel like I constantly just stay in shape, and it really helps. So.
All right, now this is the most important question that I'm going to ask. Friday night was homecoming at Scott High School, and both of you guys were queen candidates representing the junior class. And you guys are friends, even though you went to Robbins and you went to Huntsville. Did you clash any as you were competing last week, campaigning?
No, I actually offered Abby. I said we should go hand out candy together and say vote for one of us. We don't really care who it is.
Just as long as it was one of you, so that you can keep it. Like I heard, y'all correct. You fill me in here. I heard that there's kind of a little bit of animosity within the school where people say those soccer girls always win. Do you feel that? Was that the word? Does that come from that?
No.
So you guys weren't just trying to keep it within the soccer program?
No.
No.
Okay. I just really wanted to dress up. That was the whole thing for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your team now. You guys started off the season really good. Got a big win over Union County district play. You'd won, I think, at 1.3 in a row. Came out against Oliver Springs a couple of weeks ago, and don't think that the team played that well against Oliver Springs. Got beat in a game you probably should have won, and it's almost like you hit a wall. Now, competition's got a lot to do with that because you played Anderson County next, and they were really, really good. And then you played Clinton, and they're very much improved from what they traditionally are. So now you've got this week off. You're carrying a 3-game losing streak into this week off, and when you come out of this week, you've got a couple more big district games. You've still got Gibbs left in front of you. You've got to play Kingston. That's a big rivalry. So where are you guys at as you head into this break? And what are you going to do to get this thing back on track? Abby?
Well, I feel like we just really need to, work on talking to each other and communicating and passing the ball because that's a big factor. And our defense needs a little help. But I feel like we also really need to work on shooting too because that's obviously a big part. So.
And I say you guys lost 3 in a row. You have, but 2 of those, Oliver Springs and Clinton, you got beat by 1 goal. And very close games, easily could have won both of those games, and then everybody would be taking a much different approach to where you're at as you head into this bye week. Where do you think, personally, your team is at as you get ready for it? Let's just talk about Gibbs specifically since that's the region game that's left, the district game that's left, and that's a road game. You guys haven't played – you've only played 1 road game so far. What do you guys got to do to beat Gibbs?
We definitely need to work on shooting. I realized, whenever they get up to the goal, you can see them freak out, and they shoot right for the goalie, which never works, unless you just have a super hard kick and it goes through them. Alyssa can do that sometimes, but she doesn't always have the angle. And defense can only do so much. After a while, they start getting tired and start making mistakes. So you really just need to improve on scoring and then keeping the ball out of the back.
You guys have got this year one of the smallest teams Scott High has ever had. I think that you're maybe down now to 16 players, maybe give or take, around 16 players. What is your message? Scott County's got a good middle school soccer program. There are a lot of kids that play at the middle school level. A lot of parents and grandparents and fans get out and watch those games. A lot of times there are as many people at a middle school soccer game as there is a middle school football game. What's your message to those kids in 8th grade that are coming up? Because we talked about how much different high school soccer is. We don't want to scare anybody away. What's your message to these kids that need to be out there next year and be a part of that soccer program?
Well, most people, they show up, and then after, the first week, they quit because the running is so hard. But what they don't realize is after, the first 2 weeks, it gets so much easier when we actually start focusing on doing stuff on the field. So then most people start enjoying it. But the running scares them away, and they're tired of it, so they just quit.
That's the first thing y'all did today because I was coming around Scott High Drive there. Coach Henry talking to you. He still had his tie on and everything. And then I turned my head and suddenly you're away doing your pre-practice run. And so I think a lot of youngsters get intimidated by, hey, I've got to go out there and run a mile or 2 or whatever right off the bat, and they think they can't do that.
So does the keeper have to run as much as everybody else?
I used to, but I have a heart problem, so I'm not allowed to.
Okay. So, all right. So you get cut a little bit of slack
until we get suicides. Then I run those with them.
So you had okay, all right.
I've got a question for both of you. Same question. Whether it be freshman, sophomore, senior, what other player on your team has helped you the most in your career to this point?
What player has
What
helped
player?
me? Alyssa Crabtree. She's really helped me a lot. She knows that sometimes I get really upset with myself, so she tries to help me, encourage me a lot. So.
She can calm you down if you get a little upset.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
I think the player that's helped me the most is definitely Riley. She's like my other half. If I mess up, she's back there to get it, and if she messes up, I'm there. So we really just complete each other.
Well, that's good. And she's also a track performer also, yeah. So you get to spend a lot of time with her through soccer and spring track. That's great.
All right. So I'm going to ask you this, and we've got Presley Welch and Jillian Crosser here from Oneida as well, and I'm going to ask them the same thing about their coach. You guys know that this is coming. I did this a couple of weeks ago. Nobody's taken me up on it so far. Do either of you want to attempt an Eric Henry impersonation?
Oh, Abby's sitting over here.
Bella, I feel like you can pull it off if you want to.
Abby made up her mind real quick. Go ahead.
I don't know.
Bella.
I'd have to think about what to say. You have any ideas, Abby? Anything
I'm
you
not
feel?
going to say nothing. I'm not running for it.
Oh, okay. You're probably smart.
I didn't realize we could get him in trouble. We don't want to do that.
No, oh, surely not. Surely not. All right, Bella Sharp, Abby Henson, thank you guys for joining us. No Scott High soccer games this week, but you guys are back in action next week with 2 games. Tell us who you play on Tuesday night.
Is it Clinton? It's not Clinton. It's Kingston, right?
Yeah.
It is Kingston. It is at Kingston, 6:30 down on the river. Should be a good one. Kingston's always tough, so good opportunity, folks, to get out and support you. You got one home game left, October the 5th against Oneida. So everybody's got to come out and support. And for that one, it's always the biggest crowd of the year, and it'll be a good opportunity to support girls high school soccer. Guys, thank you for joining us. Good luck as you come out of this bye week and get ready for the end of the regular season. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll switch gears and talk Oneida soccer right after this. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. We are live from the C. Michael Lay Technology Center in Helenwood, along with Rick Keaton. I'm Ben Garrett. Tim Smith is not with us tonight. That's pretty obvious. We are now joined by Oneida Senior. I started to say 2 Oneida Juniors. Oneida Senior, Presley Welch, and Oneida Junior, Jillian Cross. Guys, thank you, first of all, for joining us. And let's talk about, first of all, the success of this Oneida soccer program. You guys started off the season. It was a little bit rough in the early going. You kind of took it on the chin a couple of times. But your coach, Phil Newport, said all along, he said, once we get through this first stretch, then it's going to open up for us, and it really has. So, Jillian, I want to ask you first, because you've really become the offensive leader of this team, one of the offensive leaders. Talk about the growth of this team just from where you were at back at the 1st of August to where you're at now, riding a 6-game winning streak.
We had a lot of freshmen starting on our team, so there was a large learning curve, and we lost so many seniors last year that we had a lot of new people going into different positions. Even I went to a position that I was not used to playing. So we just kind of had to get it together and figure it all out before we could start moving forward.
Now, you talked about your position change of this season. You've been a contributor since you were a freshman, obviously. But did you really see yourself becoming the goal scorer that you've become this year? I mean, somebody has to score the goals, and there have been a couple of you guys that have really stepped up as far as finishing and getting the points on the board, and it's been you and Emily Sexton. Did you see that?
No. Freshman and sophomore year, I played wing, and I've always just kind of been a passer. I prefer to just assist. And then I started at center mid at the beginning of the season until Rory stepped up and took it, and I got moved up top, and it was hard for me to start shooting.
So, but obviously you're enjoying it now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
It's fun now.
Yeah. So, all right, Presley, talk about your role on this team, because you're fairly new to high school soccer. This is your 3rd year, I think. You told me you started when you were a sophomore, so this is your 3rd year, and you've certainly played more this year than you had up until this point. So talk about your role on the team.
I play stopper, like a mid defender, and I play wing some too. I don't have the skills like everybody else does, so I've had to make up for that by paying attention to what other people aren't doing and what Phil needs, and I try to fill that in so I can be worthy to the team.
Okay, so Jillian, you are strictly a soccer player, right? You're one sport athlete. You've played ASL. You put a lot of work into becoming a better soccer player. You're a multi-sport athlete. You play softball as well as soccer. Which is your favorite?
I really enjoy soccer, but I've played softball my whole life. So it's a different feel. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing in softball, and with soccer, I'm questioning everything I do a little bit.
So talk about softball. What position do you play in softball?
I was, for a long time, an outfielder, just because I was the only person that liked to run, but I'm now a first base in high school.
Okay. All right, so I asked Jillian about the 6-game winning streak that you guys have been on. Talk about that. Did you? And I know that you guys knew when you came into the season what you were facing on the front end, and then where the schedule went from there. Did you think we'd be sitting here at the end of September and you'd be saying, "Well, we've won 6 games in a row"?
No, I was completely shocked. But by the first play day, watching how much effort we had put in, well, not the first one, but the one after that, I felt like we were going to be okay.
And so as you continue to move forward, now Coach Phil Newport would not like me looking ahead. You guys have got Eagleton tomorrow night. That's a road game. That's a district game, so that's kind of a big game. But, and by the way, Eagleton is brand new. So just like in football, we really don't know what to expect out of them. I don't know if you guys have watched any film on Eagleton or not, but it's new to everybody. But, and I've said this when everybody else has been on from your team, at the end of the season, you got to have a circle around Kingston, right? Because they're the one that they're the big dog in the region, in the district this year. So, and the question I've been asking is how much work do you need to do? What do you need to do to get ready for Kingston? Well, now we're getting right on top of that thing. So, are you ready for Kingston?
I believe we are. The only thing I could say that we would ever struggle with is having quicker feet, and that's a quick fix. If we could just put it in the minds before the game, I think that will be fine.
How about it, Jillian? You guys have, if you win tomorrow night, you're still unbeaten in district play. If you win tomorrow night, you know you're going to be hosting a district game when the postseason rolls around. If you beat Kingston, then you're going to play that entire tournament at your place, which is, I mean, Kingston's tough to play anywhere. They're especially tough down there on the river on their home field. What do you think? Are you guys ready? They beat you guys in a play day. They beat you up pretty good, but that was not y'all's best representation of who you are as a team, and you come a long way since then. I think you guys are much better prepared to play Kingston now.
I think if we play how we know we can play, we'll be okay.
Okay, so I want to ask you about this. You scored a hat trick earlier this year. Hat tricks are hard to get, and for those who maybe not follow soccer that closely or hockey, because it's the same terminology, a hat trick is when you score 3 goals in one game. Talk about that. When you got that second one, did you know, was it in the back of your mind that you had that opportunity to score number 3?
I didn't realize I had a hat trick until I walked off the field for a sub-in, and I was told. I just kind of, I'm not very aware.
So you don't keep count with that's number 1, that's number 2. You just kind of, okay. All right. So what about the rest of you guys? Did you guys realize, because usually everybody's teammates are out there, they're keeping up with it. Did you guys realize that she had that hat trick?
I don't know if all of us had, but I definitely did. I was excited about it to tell her, or just to talk to her about it.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to something now that's more important, not more important than soccer, but let's take advantage of the opportunity here. First of all, I want to ask you, how do you make an atomic hot dog?
That's a secret recipe.
Really? I was afraid that she was going to say that.
If we told people, then we wouldn't sell as many.
Okay. All right. So do you make hot dogs? I mean, are you kind of going to follow along in the business?
No, probably. I don't make anything. I do the money.
Okay, well, that's smart. That's smart. All right, that's a good position to be in. So, Praley, your mother just opened a new restaurant on Main Street. So, if we're going to the Little Kitchen, what should we get off the menu? If we're going to get one thing off the menu, what should we get that's just not going to disappoint? It's going to be really good.
The Main Street Burger.
Main Street Burger. That's actually what I wanted to try, Rick Keaton. The Main Street Burger.
Now we know, and we'll have to try it out.
Yes. So, do you feel like, have you eaten at the Little Kitchen?
Have not.
Okay, so have you eaten an atomic hot dog?
No, actually.
Oh, never mind then. All right, let's go ahead and skip to the next question then, and that is our Phil Newport impersonation. We had Abby Henson and Bella Sharp were just here. They would not do an Eric Henry impersonation, and I got to say, your all's teammates, the other seniors, when they've been here, they won't do a Phil Newport impersonation. How about it? Either one of you guys? Because Jillian, I feel like you could give it a shot.
I need a scenario.
It's Phil. I mean, it's going to be loud, right? Just pretend.
And it's going to be a lot of it. I mean, so.
Yeah, pretend that someone sitting over here is wearing yellow and they're an official. That's a scenario. That's a Phil scenario, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen.
That's a lot of pressure.
Well, understandably. All right, so Jillian, let me ask you this. We're going to have your cousin on here a little bit later. She's going to be one of our cheerleaders who is here to help us pick the winners of this week's game. We've been trying to get her here, Kendall Mays, by the way. We've been trying to get her here ever since last season. She wouldn't come. Finally, this season, she said, if I can come the same night Jillian comes, I'll do it. So she's going to be here Do you have any advice for her? Do you follow high school football closely enough to be able to maybe give her some hand signals from the back of the room and say, this is who's going to win this game?
So I didn't learn how football was played until this year because I played powder puff.
Okay, never mind.
So
Don't try to help her.
advice.
Okay, all right. So, sorry, are you going to stick around? Can you help Kendall? Because Tim Smith is usually sitting here, and he's kind of whispering
he
who he
slides
wants
a
to-
notepad over there. And
Yeah, he cheats.
Yeah.
So you guys, neither of you guys are going to have advice for Kendall.
No, I don't know anything about football.
All right. So before we let you guys go, let's talk about you've got Eagleton on Tuesday night, and it is a road game. That's tomorrow night, Rick Eaton. Tomorrow night's Tuesday.
I was wondering if that was tomorrow
Yeah,
night or not.
Tomorrow night, you guys go to Blount County to face Eagleton. But then on Thursday, I think. Now, I saw the schedule that Bo Kidd put out earlier. He said the Cumberland Gap game is away on Thursday, but it's at home, right?
Yeah.
It's a doubleheader. The middle school plays first, and then the high school.
So the
will
middle
play.
school game will probably
nice.
start at 4:30,
I
5?
think 5.
Okay, so the middle school first, and then you guys under the lights. They're no longer in the district, but that has become, over the last 6 or 7 years at least, Oneida's biggest rival. Anything special about Thursday night, or is it just another game?
No, it started in middle school, the rival we have between them. And I think maybe my year is kind of the last year for the kids that had played with Lori and really knew her. So I think it'll still be a big deal.
Probably they got you guys last year, not only in the district championship, but again in the region championship. No, I'm sorry, not in the district regular season, but in the district championship. They got you guys a couple of times last year. Is that looking for revenge Thursday night?
Yeah, I think it has still been set up as a game that we should definitely try our hardest, like you would any game. But it's one that you look forward to you can still compete with, and it's about on the same level.
And you mentioned Lori by her first name, Lori Kimbrough, as a coach at Cumberland Gap. A lot of you guys from Oneida, you do know her on a first game basis because you run into her in ASO. She's even coached a lot of you guys in ASO. Have you ever played for her?
Yes, I played on an AYSO club team with her.
So how does that make it different? Because she really, Lori Kimbrough, great soccer coach and a good person, but she really wants to beat Oneida every time she faces them. Does that add a little fire to it?
Well, if you've played for her, she knows what to do to keep you from playing your best. So it causes it a little more excitement.
All right, Praley, last question. You Thursday night against Cumberland Gap. Now, this is not your last home game of the season, but that is your only home game this week. You need a big crowd out for Thursday night's game, especially since it's a doubleheader and the middle school's playing too. What's your message to people that maybe don't ordinarily get out and watch high school soccer?
That's a tough one. It's a simple game to follow if you're watching it, and I think if you just take the time to sit down and watch it, people will enjoy it.
All right, Thursday night, Oneida versus Cumberland Gap. Your opportunity to get out and support the Lady Indians. It starts at 6:30 with the middle school game preceding it. And first, though, you guys are going to go play a region game, district game tomorrow night at Eagleton. Good luck in both of those games. Good luck the rest of the season. Thank you for joining us. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears back to football and talk to a couple of Oneida football players from Friday night's game. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. We are live from the C. Michael Lay Technology Center in Helenwood, and we are joined now by our First National Bank player of the game from Friday night, Braden Birchfield, and from our Trophy Masters lineman of the game Friday, Brady Burt. Guys, thank you for joining us. Brady, this is old hat for you now, your second time here, and Braden, I know you were the player of the game, but just hang on a second. We're going to start with Brady. Since this is your second time here, I want to know what you've learned just from when you were here 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago to now, because I feel like you're ready to go.
You mean like about interviewing?
Yeah,
Yeah, you want to take over for us someday? Somebody's going to have to take over.
No, I don't talk a lot.
Well, see,
not me.
you didn't talk much the first time around, but I thought, okay, second time around, he's going to talk a lot. Talk about Friday night, a huge win for the Indians, 21-17 over Polk County, and you had a really good game on the line. You guys did a good job defensively, especially of shutting down Polk County. Talk about that game and what it means for your team.
Yeah, I think that just kind of proved that we have enough grit to, just do what it takes. It was a close game, and we ended up coming out with the win. They're a good team, and we found a way to win. So.
And Braden, you were the player of the game, 18 tackles in that game. You and Ben Gilbert combined were in on 37 tackles. Not all of those were solo, but you guys were in on 37 tackles. So Ben Gilbert's been having an outstanding year, and then now here you are giving him a run for his money in the tackle department. Did you foresee this happening coming into this season? Did you think, I'm going to get 18 tackles in a game this year?
No.
Doesn't happen very often in high school football or any level of football for
That's
that matter,
true.
that you wind up with 18 tackles in a game. What led to that Friday night? Going into that game, did you feel like confident this is going to be my night? Just talk about that game.
Not really. It's just more of coming in, focusing on your fundamentals, reading your keys, and just stuff like that.
Now, you guys are both – Brady, you're a sophomore, do I remember correctly? You guys are both sophomores. You guys really – the youth on this team has really been stepping up and playing a key role, which has got to be exciting for Oneida fans down the road. The seniors are important, obviously, but you younger guys, have really been stepping up. And talk about the kind of the role that you have carved out, the place that you carved out for yourself on this Oneida football team.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you guys have stepped in. A lot of times when you're a sophomore, it's hard to get on the field, right, because those juniors and seniors are locking down those spots. But here you guys are, and you're out there, and you're in the starting lineup. How did you get there? You weren't in the starting lineup on day one in fall camp, right?
No, I was not.
So how did you get there?
Just working hard and overcoming the you know what I'm talking about. Overcoming your
Limitations.
Yeah.
There we
word.
go.
Rick knows what you were talking about. I didn't have a clue. I'm going to be honest.
I was guessing. But
Brady, same thing with you. You're out there on the line now in the trenches every Friday night. How have you got to the point where you're at, and how have you embraced this role?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, first of all, the same as I asked Braden. See, I told you I feel like I'm a failure right now. You guys are asking, what do you mean? So just like Braden, you weren't a starter coming into fall camp, right?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. So so back up to spring practice when you're coming out of your freshman year, you're going to your sophomore year. How did you get to where you're one of the leaders on this football team?
Well, in the freshman year, I started getting in there a little bit as a sub. I played a little bit, nothing too big, but then I just worked on weightlifting over the winter and during spring practice, and
And you play both sides of the ball, correctly? Okay.
Yes,
so talk about – because coaches always say, I want to get my lineman a break. It's hard to go both ways on the line, in the trenches. Talk about that aspect of it. How hard is it to go both ways?
It's pretty rough when you get out of there, when we were going no huddle. And, you got to go back in there on defense. But, we've had some good subs get in there and give us a break. And
so as Braden, I asked Brady already about the win on Friday night, 21-17 over Polk County. Big win for the football team. It almost guarantees you a playoff spot, keeps you in the running for a region championship. You're one of only two teams now in the region still without a loss in region play. What did that mean? Nobody gave you guys a shot, really, going to Polk County Friday night, but you guys went down there and took care of business, especially in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, we just came in as an underdog and held our own for the most part, and just really showed that we had the grit and determination to play.
Now, we talked about your role defensively, 18 tackles Friday night. On the offensive side of the football, you play fullback, correct? Yes. Okay, so you don't get many carries. I don't know if you've gotten a carry this year, as a matter of fact. So have you kind of accepted that role of, well, I'm just going to be a blocking back, or are you secretly hoping that Coach May would call your number?
I'm fine with a blocking back.
Okay. If you got your number called and Caden Rector hands that ball off to you, you think you're ready for that moment?
I'll do my best.
Okay. All right.
Those last two possessions, drives for touchdowns. What's the atmosphere in the huddle or at the line of scrimmage with the offensive unit the other night? Who was the person that stepped up and said, we can do it, guys? Or was it a team effort? Or had one person like Mr. Rector back there driving the boat a little bit?
Yeah, it was a team effort, but I think, Caden, he's a veteran. He kind of got us all together and ready to, just go out there and score a touchdown.
What was the mood on the field? I've watched the video of it on that last touchdown. What did y'all feel? Was there a great relief there, or the feeling of accomplishment? We did it. We're not sure anybody thought we could, but we went almost let the field and did that.
There's definitely a feeling of overcoming adversity. But then also you look at the clock and there's still some time left, so there's a little bit of worry there still.
Yeah. I understand that.
And they almost pulled it off. They got down to the 4-yard line, I think, got to the 7 on a pass completion, and then got half the distance to the goal on a penalty. What's going through your mind in that situation, where there's still just a few seconds left, 9 seconds maybe, and they're 4 yards away?
I was wanting to go back in there. You know, I was wanting Coach West to put me back in so I could at least, you know, be out there and try and do something about it. But, you know, they pulled through and we won.
Two big plays. Josh Cole breaks up a pass in the end zone first, and then on the last play of the game, Aiden Rector gets a sack. Aiden Rector? Sorry, Caden Rector. Aiden Frazier gets a sack. And I think he had a big play at the end of the first half too, when Polk County was driving. What goes through your mind at that moment, where the clock is run out, the guy goes to the ground, and you've got the win? That was a tough, hard-fought win.
We did it.
Now, Brady, I want to ask you this. When Coach May came up after the game to talk to Tim and the guys, one of the first things he said, I'm tired of people picking against us. Almost every week people have been picking against you. I heard people say before the season you guys would be lucky to get 4 wins this year. Now here you sit at the halfway point. You've already got those 4 wins, and I know that's not the end goal. You guys are wanting a lot more than that. What does it do to you from a motivation standpoint when you hear people say they can't go to Polk County and win? They can't go to Bledsoe County and win. Can't host York Institute and win.
Yeah, it's definitely a big motivator, and even the first of the season, you know, versus Rockwood, a lot of people didn't think we'd win that game, and we came out and scored 28 in one half. So I think that really kind of gets the fire going on the team when nobody thinks you're going to win.
This Friday night, Braden, you guys are back at home. You've got Greenback coming in. Not a region game. Greenback's not even in the same classification as you guys. But over the past 25, 30 years or so, this has really become a little bit of a rivalry. Cofield's your biggest rival, probably, but you definitely the Oneida Greenback game just always means something. How about it as a sophomore that has never played in the game against Greenback before? Is it something different about Friday night?
I mean, it's just time to come out and play.
Do you think people are still going to be picking against you Friday night, or are they finally going to wake up and say, "Hey, this Oneida team's 4-1. I think they're going to take it to Greenback"?
I think people will probably still pick against us.
You think so? All right, we're going to find out here in just a couple of minutes if some of these cheerleaders pick against you guys or not. 4-1, a great start to the season, guys. I want to congratulate you first of all on a huge night defensively and being our player of the game, and Brady also you having a very solid night on the line as our Trophy Masters lineman of the game. By the way, we got a T-shirt from Trophy Masters here. I don't know if we got one in your size or not, but if we don't, Tony will get you one before this season is over. These are the T-shirts that Trophy Masters is given to our lineman of the game. Now, Braden, I'm sorry, we don't have anything for you to give you as player of the game.
He's got a contact.
First National Bank it will give you guys something later. If you know someone at First National Bank that you can put on that, you do that, okay?
All right.
All right. Now, real quickly before you go, one more question. This is important. Football's important. Hunting season opens Saturday.
Yes.
Have you got one lined up?
Not yet. We haven't.
It's Tuesday. Almost. It's Monday, but
we ain't really had much on camera this year.
Well, same here. What about you, Brady? You hunt?
I don't hunt a lot, really.
Okay. All right.
He's a scholar. Brady's a scholar. I understand.
I had to get that question in. Guys, seriously, good luck on Friday against Greenback and in the upcoming games, especially against Bledsoe and against York, 2 big games coming up. That is Brady Strunk, Braden Birchfield. Thank you guys for joining us. Another break, and when we come back, we're going to switch to Scott High football right after this. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. We are live from the C. Michael Lay Technology Center in Helenwood alongside Rick Keaton. I'm Ben Garrett. Tim Smith is not here. The Oneida guys are just on with us, and they're saying, man, why wasn't Tim Smith here? I have to apologize, especially to Brady Burke, as we were going off and into the break a minute ago. I called him Brady Strunk. And Rick Keaton, you and Brady Strunk are good buddies. And Brady Strunk's good buddies with everybody. But if I picked one guy to mess up and accidentally refer to him as, I picked a doozy, didn't I?
Yeah, he's much bigger than either of us.
Yeah.
And I won't say I'm afraid of him, but, hey.
Well, fortunately.
And you know what?
He didn't threaten us or anything.
And you were going to give him a T-shirt, and you said, hey, Brady Strunk. You did it
okay,
again.
I did that on purpose, though.
Okay.
So,
well,
anyway,
he's going. Mr. Burke's going to get tired of that. Okay.
Our apologies to Brady Burke, but if he continues to play the way he has been, we may have him back on again this season, and I will get it right this time. All right, now it's time to talk Scott High football, and we are joined by our First National Bank player of the game, Keegan Bowling, got one of them right, and our Trophy Masters lineman of the game, Marcus Troxel. So now that I got both of those names out without messing them up, I'm just turning it right over to you.
Keegan and Marcus. Very good. Just talked to Keegan. Keegan's a sophomore, correct?
Yeah.
And Marcus, you're a
Senior.
For some reason, I thought you were a sophomore, and I think maybe on my roster I've got you listed as a sophomore. But this sort of continues the trend. The last 2 or 3 roundtables seems like we've selected our player of the game, our lineman of the game, based on second half performance. It seems like we don't call your name that much, but in the second half we start calling your name a whole lot. And Keegan, you've been going both ways this year as a wide receiver and as a defensive back. And we thought you had a couple of good receptions the other night, and you almost broke one to get some additional yardage over on the sideline. Tell us about the game the other night, just your first and general impression of the game, and the good things, the things that went right for the Highlander team.
Well, I mean, we did better in some aspects. Like, we had a few breakout runs, but overall, we need to work better on, like, tackling and everything. Because a lot of times we could have had them down, like, 15 yards short. Well, not 15, but like 5 yards in the backfield, and they'd break it out for, like, an extra, like, 15, 20 yards.
And Marcus playing so much on defense, the tackling aspect, is that something that you've improved on this year? I feel you probably have some.
Yeah, it is. Defense, offensively, they came out big, nasty, strong in front, you know. I made a few good plays. There was a few good plays that we made. They made a few good shoot.
Listen, it's easy to get tongue-tied. Yeah. You put on these headsets, and it happens.
Yeah.
And I can't ESPN you right now. I do bend that way all the time, but I'm assuming you're talking about the strength of the running backs to come out and run at you. A lot of that's just straight downhill.
Yeah, we got a few good stops on defense on the first series. I think we got a passing interference on we had them 3rd down and 8. We had an opportunity to make them go for a field goal. We missed it. Came out second quarter. We put a good drive on them. Ended up falling short on the touchdown, you know. Came back out second quarter, second after halftime. We had was planning on coming out on a good spot. First play of offense, bad snap, you know, bad play. Play went wrong. When our quarterback, LG, got hurt, he ended up messing the rest of the game up. That's about it.
Yeah, that was I don't want to say that was it wasn't a turning point, but it was a pivotal point in the second half. What was it like, Keegan, in the dressing room at the end of the first half? Because most of the fans, and even us in the broadcast booth, thought, hey, we've really missed an opportunity. We're down at the 2-yard line. We could have made this what should have been a 14-7 game, or certainly a 21-7 game at that point. What was the emotions of the team? What went on in the locker room after the end of the first half?
Well, to be honest, we went in the locker room, and I think everybody kind of had the mindset of we're still in the game. And it was still very much possible. We were only down by the 3 touchdowns, but we could have had it down by 2. But, I think we came in and everybody was still ready to come out and play.
Where did the adjustments, and taking in the consideration that Landon did get hurt, what adjustments, defensively or offensively, what worked best for us in the second half? I think I know the answer to the question there.
We had a few good stops on defense. We started pushing it there for a minute on offense. Well, that was before the halftime.
Right.
And, it was more of the defense.
The offense, the ability to score points, and I'll address that to you first, Keegan. That I'm not saying that's the main problem or the biggest problem, but we've got to be able to score more than the 3 points that we've put on in the last 3 games. What changes did you anticipate, or what changes are the coaches already talking about this week to improve the effectiveness of the Highlander offense?
Well, I think they're mainly just trying to target our biggest weaknesses in the offense, and they're trying to get in there. And some of the plays that we could have corrected and made bigger plays, or whenever we got down on the goal line and didn't get the touchdown, I think they've really been trying to work on getting that down to where we can get in those situations and make those touchdowns.
And I knew the situation from Saturday, but Was LG there today watching practice or anything? Have you had a chance to talk to him?
Well, I think everybody said that he's doing better now, but I don't think he was at practice today.
Okay. A week off, what does that mean to you, Marcus? I mean, it's been 5 grinding weeks, and the last 3 have certainly been grinds. What does it mean to get this week off before getting the Whitley County team next week?
I think of this week, we got to focus on more of like wrapping up, tackling, getting that down, you know. Our contact's on point, it's just we can't get the wrap, you know. But
And the team works very hard. There's 2 or 3 individual sessions during practice that guys work on tackling, especially the linebackers and the cornerbacks working on tackling. Can you tell that we're making an improvement in that area?
yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, it's making progress.
Do you have a preference, offense or defense, Keegan?
Oh, definitely defense.
Why?
Well, I don't know. To be honest, that's kind of been the main thing I played over the last 2 years.
And you have become a pretty good come up and support defender, I think.
Yeah.
Is that something that you just come by naturally, or is that something the coaches keep having to pound?
Well, over the last like 3 weeks, they've been really trying to hit me with like a bunch of short passes, like they did in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
They've been trying to target those a lot because they felt that was kind of like my weakness. Because last year, a lot of people would like throw it really short, and I just have to come up and make the tackle a few yards after they've got.
Right. For each one of you, of course, you're a senior, and Keegan's answer may be to you, Marcus, but what players have helped you the most in your high school career so far? Now, they could have graduated last year or the year before, but what players have on our team that's helped you the most?
For me, I think definitely it's been Rylan Griffin and Jaden Mays.
They are really talented, aren't they? I mean, they're long, lanky. They can go up for the ball very well, and I think they would set a good example for that. Marcus?
I said it'd be LG. When we did contact drills, he'd probably be like the hardest one that I hit so far, and the tackling drills and stuff.
Yeah, and we've talked about Lennon being the quarterback, but he also is a defensive starter, and while watching him, I find that he's a pretty sure-handed tackler himself.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
So he does. I think our backs are learning how to give some punishment, especially in the last 2 or 3 games. What do you look forward to? I know it's a long time, a week from now, but what do you look forward to getting back on the field against Whitley County?
Honestly, just getting out there and playing better as a team. Like, I hope we can get our offense going better and our defense get more stops.
Marcus?
Yeah, I say we need to work on getting more stops, work on our offense a little bit more. I say our pass game's down. We need to work on a little bit of running, getting our blocks down and stuff, you know.
It's a difficult little offense that you're trying to run when you're looking at at least the last 3 teams we've played, and you look across the line and you're saying, "Ooh, big."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when you're seeing 345-pound guys on the other defensive front, it's pretty intimidating to look there like that. So, Ben?
Well, so we've kind of gotten behind schedule, but I got to ask both these guys a question before we let them go, and I'm going to start with you, Keegan. First or second play of the game. It was on the first series that Kingston had. You kind of set the tone for yourself for the rest of the night with the big hit that you had. Now, Mark Matthews with the Oneida crew, he's got his signature saying, "Hello, darling." Rick's color guy, Harris, he didn't really have a signature saying like that. But if Mark Matthews had been calling your game, that would have definitely have been a hello, darling hit. You planted that guy, and it really set the tone for the night that you were going to have. So talk about, as a defensive back, when you see a receiver hung out to dry like that, are you like, oh, yeah. What goes through your mind?
I mean, definitely. It gives you a free chance to get a kill shot. So,
And
I mean,
you
you definitely look forward to that.
All right, so Marcus, we were joking off the air during the break, and I said, there's no way this guy is a lineman. Look at him. Look how skinny he is. He said, I weigh 180. You know, my response was, yeah, me too, like 40 years ago. But he was real quick to let me know that it's not about size so much, or not about weight so much as speed and technique. but I guarantee you're outsized by almost every single lineman you're lined up against.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
How do you handle your own? Do you get intimidated?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes. I try not to let it sweat over my shoulder, you know. I just try to go in, try to be a little bit faster than them, use my hands a lot quicker than them, you know. Try to swim them a little bit. I missed a tackle there on that one. Could have had him in the backfield, you know. I just thought I know how to catch up to him, you know.
All right, Marcus Troxel, our Trophy Masters lineman of the game. Keegan Birchfield, I did it again. Keegan Bowling, our First National Bank player of the game. Congratulations to both you guys on a fine game Friday night. Enjoy the open date, and good luck next week, the next 2 weeks against Whitley County and Union County. Thank you for joining us. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Eli Rector to talk about student sections. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network, live from the C. Michael Lake Technology Center in Helenwood. Thank you for joining us. We're into hour number 2 alongside Rick Keaton. I'm Ben Garrett, and we're joined now by Eli Rector with the Oneida High School student section. Now, Eli, we had Toby Garrett, my son, and Sky Babb on last week, and they're kind of the head of the coon skin crazies at Scott High, and it was brutal. Okay, I don't know how you can lead a student section on Friday night if you don't know how to answer simple questions about what makes a student section work. So I'm just saying, not to put any pressure on you, but you're kind of under the gun here. Got to outperform those guys, and we'll call it the student section battle. See if the Oneida student section representative can outdo Scott High. Okay, first thing I want to, you are a sophomore, right?
Yep.
Okay. So at Scott High, and I would assume most schools, you kind of have a senior step up and take on that role. But here you are as a sophomore, and you're the one that's getting these students into the games on Friday nights. How did that happen? Were you kind of appointed? Did you take it upon yourself? How did it happen?
Well, you know, I've always been the most top there, you know. So, and then one day, like the first day of school, somebody came up to me and said, Mason Keaton said you're leading the student section now. So I was like, all right, now I'm here.
Okay, so I got to ask you this. Now, you don't have to out yourself, so you can say no comment. Do you handle the student section social media stuff too, or you just lead them on Friday nights?
Nah, it's not me.
Not you.
I just
Okay.
lead them on Friday night.
Okay, so and I'm going to go ahead and I'll out Toby and Sky. They do handle. I won't say which one does which. I'll just say that the Coonskin Crazies. There you go. So I don't know if I'm supposed to do that or not, but I just did. So
go right ahead.
I want you. I did.
That's right.
Tell me this. Tell me what. Because do you guys have like coordinated cheers in the student section, or do you leave that to the cheerleaders?
We usually leave that to the cheerleaders, and we just really cheer them on. You know, just be loud.
Okay. Who's your favorite player?
Caden.
It had to be number one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've had a lot of rectors on so far on the roundtable this season. We had Caden on. We've had Briley on. And now here you are. So who do you think out of all these rectors, who's the best interview?
Probably Caden's. I mean, he's the most comfortable talking.
Okay, so let's talk about the rest of the family. Avery Rector was our player of the week this week in soccer. She's going to be on at some point before this season's over. Do you think she's going to outdo you guys?
No, she's pretty shy. She don't really talk a lot.
You don't think she'll be up to the challenge? All right, so the challenge has been issued. All right, so you guys have got some big games coming up at home. Starting this Friday night, Greenback comes in. Greenback's always a big game for Oneida. But you got an even bigger one coming up just because of the implications and what's riding on it, and that is York. And you guys are going to need a huge crowd out for that game. So what do you do to get the crowd there? Do you go around to school and recruit students to come out, or do you just whoever shows up, you go with what you got?
Well, I think the pep rallies really bring a lot of people to the games, and like just supporting them, like pep rally games, you know, really gets people into it, and they'll come to the games.
So as students, you guys don't ordinarily have any problem being into the game. You're usually up, you know, you're kind of rambunctious, you're trash talking the other student section a little bit, maybe trash talking the teams a little bit. What do you say to everybody else, the adults on the stand? We don't expect the adults to be talking the same talk that you guys are talking, but a critical situation, third down and short, that sort of thing, and people are just sitting there kind of quiet. Do you want to just turn around and say, come on, guys, cheer?
I mean, I think crowd definitely does help the players whenever they're cheering them on. It gets the players fired up, and I think it helps a lot. So, good for the parents to be up.
So you're just a sophomore. You've got 2 years of high school left after this year. Do you anticipate continuing in this role as kind of making sure that the student section rolls on Friday night?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you have a nickname? I noticed you used the word hype a while ago. Do you have a nickname?
No, not really.
We need to create a nickname for you. Could be the hype man.
We'll leave that to Mark Matthews.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you guys are are heading into the home stretch of this regular season and with the big games that you got in front of you. Let's start Friday night with Greenback. What's your message to the community as far as getting out and supporting an Oneida team that's turned out to be a really good football team?
You know, this has been one of the best teams we've had in a little while since, definitely since I've been in high school. Last year we weren't very good. But the fans, we really need them to come out and support Friday because if we can beat Greenback, we're going to go a long way and, have a really good record.
So a lot of people, I made this comment earlier to the players, people were telling me before the season started, Oneida might not win 4 games, or if they do win 4 games, that'll be a great season. Well, here they sit at the midway point, they're 4-1. Coach May said Friday night that he wanted people to stop picking against them. Then he turned around and said, well, maybe we do need them to continue to picking against them. It's kind of a motivator. Mm-hmm. How about you? Did you think we'd be sitting here at 4-1 at the midway point?
I thought we'd be 5-0, but, Cofield kind of got the best of us. But, seeing us being this good.
So you see these guys week in and week out. You live with the quarterback. You kind of know what's on his brain. What's it going to take to beat Greenback on Friday?
I think the passing game's really going to need to be good and definitely a good run game. And if we can hold the line down, it'll be pretty good.
All right, so last question. Football's got 5 games left and then however many playoff games that you might have as well. Then you're going to get into basketball. Are you going to continue this role in basketball season as well?
Oh, yeah.
So what's your favorite, football or basketball? Basketball is more of an interactive student section.
I like basketball because, you really sound louder too because you're in that, tight gym. And you can really do more chants in basketball and pick on certain players,
Yeah, everybody can hear you inside the gym. When you're at the football field, the other side maybe doesn't hear everything that's coming out of the student section, so that's good.
And that's what really makes a good high school basketball game is when you got those competing student sections and they're both getting into it and they're both grinding on each other's nerves a little bit. And then you always have some adults that are saying, I can't believe they said that. But it's all in good fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Eli Rector with the Oneida, whatever the Oneida State. You guys don't really have a name. All right, so we'll get Mark Matthews to create something for that as well. Eli Rector, the kind of the head of the Oneida student section, we'll say. Thank you for joining us. When we come back, we're going to be joined by our cheerleaders from this week as we make our picks for this weekend's games. Welcome back to the Round Table on the IH Sports Network. As we get into our final couple of segments tonight, we are joined by Scott High junior cheerleader Leslie Boatwright. I'm having to think about these names now.
You're struggling tonight.
I am big time. Leslie Boatwright, and by Oneida junior cheerleader Kendall Mays, who I never struggle with her name. I just struggle with how to spell it. And so, guys, thank you for joining us. And we're going to start off. You guys are going to help us pick the winners of this week's games here in a minute, but we're going to start off talking about cheerleading a little bit. Kendall, I'm going to start with you. Because you do cheerleading and you also do gymnastics, competitive dance, competitive cheer. She does competitive cheer. I thought you did gymnastics.
Sport,
did you start doing? You didn't start with gymnastics?
No.
Competitive cheer is almost the same.
It's kind of, yeah. So, okay. So tell me what happens at competitive cheer. You cheer in Knoxville and go to some pretty large events, some national championship type events. How does that carry over to what you do on Friday nights and on Tuesdays and Fridays during basketball season?
I think it really carries over because I'm sharp with my motions, kind of know what I'm doing.
So do you have a favorite? I mean, if you're cheering in front of a big crowd at one of these national events that you're at versus the hometown crowd on Friday night under the lights on the football field, do you have a preference what you're doing?
I prefer competitive.
Okay. So, Leslie, how about you? You strictly just Friday night cheerleader? Do you do any of the competitive stuff?
Nope.
All right.
Any other sports?
Nope. I mean, I used to play basketball, but not now.
Okay.
But you have cheered all through middle school and
no, I didn't cheer in middle school.
I
played basketball.
Okay, so you started cheering in high school. This is your third year now cheering in high school. So talk about football versus basketball. You've been through this. Your third football season. You've been through 2 basketball seasons. You got a preference, football versus basketball?
Definitely basketball. I don't understand football at all.
Well, but in football, you don't necessarily have. I mean, you're turning around looking at the crowd, right?
No, we start off facing the field, and then when someone calls a cheer, then you turn around.
Okay.
But I do not understand football at all.
Okay, so you kind of do have to have a little bit of a knowledge of the game. Is that a fair statement? Because what happens on the field kind of dictates what kind of cheer you're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so but in your third year, you still haven't figured out the game?
Nope, not at all.
Well, you know what? That's okay because Rick Keaton still hadn't figured out soccer.
I know 2 things about soccer, Ben. I know offsides, when called properly, I know offsides and goal.
Yeah,
Those are the two things I know.
All right, so now as we get ready to do our picks tonight, Kendall, I got to tell you that we've been trying to get Kendall on for 2 years now. She wouldn't come. She just would not come until this year. She said, I will come if I can come the same night that my cousin Jillian comes. We had Jillian Cross on earlier from Oneida Soccer, and they're first cousins. And I couldn't help but notice that she's sitting back there supporting you. Where were you at when she was up here?
Mom had a meeting I had to go to.
Oh, blame it on Mom. Well, okay, so it's Allison May's fault. That's fair enough. I like that. So Kendall, when Kendall walked up here, I actually told her to sit on the other side. Kendall used to kick my shin. I still got scars on my shin where she kicked me. Not recently. I mean, it's like when she was that tall. I mean,
you don't heal very well, do you?
Not. Have you seen the way I limp?
I know.
No, not very well. So, but I told her to sit over there. So, if I pick on you a little bit for not being here to support your cousin, don't kick me, okay?
Okay.
All right.
And that could be his bad leg over there too.
So, you guys ready to pick some games this week?
Yeah.
Do you guys watch a lot of high school football other than your own teams? I know you're watching Oneida on Friday nights. You're watching Scott High. Do you go home and check the scores, what's going on? Probably not. Most cheerleaders don't, let's be honest. Okay, so, and I'm sorry, Kendall, because Tim Smith is usually sitting here, and he's telling whoever's sitting next to him, the Oneida cheerleader, how to pick. And Tim's pretty good at this. I mean, he researches and does his homework. He's leading our pigskin pick'em panel. Unfortunately, Tim's not here tonight. That's been bad for all of us. I've struggled all night. It is what it is. So, bad luck for you. But Leslie has still got Rick to help her. So she's probably going to come out on top this week.
I'm going to let Leslie pick first before I do.
All right.
And
so
I'll either agree or disagree.
I'm
just kidding you.
I will fill in. Fill in Tim's role as much as I can. We'll start off, of course, with the game that matters, and that is Greenback coming to town to face Oneida. Scott High does not play this week. We got one game, Greenback and Oneida. And this is where I would ask Tim what Oneida has to do to beat Greenback. Tim's not here. We're just going to go straight to you. Who do you see winning that game on Friday night? It's a big rivalry game, Greenback or Oneida?
Oneida.
Okay, so she's got to pick Oneida. She didn't have a choice. She can't pick against the home team, but you can. And last week we saw it happen. So what I want to know is, are you going to make it 2 weeks in a row of picking against the local team?
I'm going to say Greenback.
You did that just to pick Greenback, didn't you? I like it. I like the competitive spirit. Rick, what do you think Friday night, Greenback and Oneida?
Oneida. I think Oneida built some more momentum last week, and being able to play Greenback any place other than Greenback is a positive. So I pick Oneida.
Cooper Field is a tough place to play.
Yes.
Jim May Stadium is a tough place to play. And Leslie, I'm sorry, I kind of goaded you into that. I'd have to say I think Oneida's in good shape Friday night against Greenback. I think they're going to 5-1.
That's okay.
I have no idea where Greenback is.
Most of us only go there because we go to a football game or something there, So.
I'll be honest with you. When I was about your age, when I was in high school, Scott High went to Greenback for a scrimmage, and it was my first trip to Greenback. I had no clue where Greenback was at. I just remember my impression was that it was in the middle of cow pastures. That's what it seemed like to me.
And they even fight down there as to which county it's in. Half of them say, well, we're in Loudoun County, and the other half says, well, we're in Sevier County. I mean, so they don't know. So.
Yeah. So, all right, Bledsoe County, Telecoms Plains. This is a big region game in Oneida's region. Kendall, Bledsoe County is having a strong season. Teleco Plains came out. Everybody thought they were going to be a pretty good football team. They put 47 points on the board in the season opener against Eagleton, and they really look like a good football team that night. But since then, they have really taken it on the chin. Every game that they've played, they've lost 4 in a row. York scored 74 on them last week. York only beat Bledsoe County by 2 touchdowns. Do you think Teleco Plains, they're at home this week, can they pull off a miracle against Bledsoe County?
No, Bledsoe.
Bledsoe County. How about it, Leslie?
Bledsoe.
Bledsoe, Rick?
Yeah, it's Bledsoe.
But I agree. But it's going to be Bledsoe County. They can name their score in that one. They're going to win by as much as they want to. This is a non-region game. York Institute playing Livingston. That's kind of a little bit of a rivalry. Livingston's right down the mountain from Jamestown. York's got a good football team. What do you think?
York.
I think York.
Rick?
York.
We're unanimous again. It's going to be York. York is really, really strong this year. The final game from Oneida's region is going to be Eagleton playing at Wartburg. Now, here's the thing about Wartburg. They're 1-3 coming into this. This is a non-region game, by the way. Wartburg is 1-3, but we have seen them. We saw it against Coalfield. We saw it against Oneida. We saw it last week against Bledsoe County. They played really good for a half. They just don't have any depth, and they run out of gas in the second half. Eagleton has looked good at times. At times, they kind of struggled a little bit. Both played Oneida fairly similar, I think. What do you think?
Eagleton.
You're going to take Eagleton. You've seen both teams play. So you're this is an informed, educated guess. Eagleton's going to beat Wartburg.
Yeah.
You don't seem very confident.
I don't really know.
All right. Well, first.
Wartburg.
Are you taking Wartburg just to disagree with Kendall?
I just have no idea which.
Okay.
You do remember we played Eagleton, right?
I'll be honest, no.
Okay. All right.
We beat Eagleton 31-7.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
The thunderstorm.
I remember that
It's
one.
coming back to you.
That's the only game I remember.
Okay, that's good.
All right. So what do you think, Rick? Eagleton or Wartburg?
Why don't you go first this time?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Wartburg, with the way that they have struggled with their lack of depth, I think Eagleton's going to pull it out in the end. I'm going to side with Kendall.
I'm with Eagleton also, yeah.
Sorry, Leslie. We left you hanging out to dry
but
again.
But you may be right, and we very well could be wrong.
That is a 50-50 game,
yes,
I think.
It is.
Yeah. I think Eagleton will take it, but it could go either way. All right, we'll switch to Scott High's region now. Kingston is going to be stepping out of the region this week to play at Rockwood. Rick, we're at the midway point of this season, and Kingston is technically in the lead in this thing. Alcoa is still without a region loss as well. They've played a game less, though.
Yeah.
So Kingston is the top team in the region so far. Going to Rockwood this week, and Rockwood's down from what they usually are. Kendall, you've seen Rockwood play back in the season opener. But just hang on. We'll get to you in a minute. Leslie, we're going to start with you.
Kingston.
You taking Kingston over Rockwood, Rick?
Kingston.
Kingston.
All right, we're unanimous. Kingston. Again, that's one of those games where they can name their score. You remember the Sky High Kingston game, right? Last Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Alcoa at. I feel like we're picking on you.
I do too.
Are we picking on you? I'm sorry. No more.
We'll
I'll quit.
Okay.
We appreciate you coming and agreeing to do this. Alcoa is going to be playing at Union County. This is a region game. Sky High's not seen either one of these two teams yet, Leslie, but we'll see them both in the second half of the season. Alcoa versus Union County. What do you think?
Alcoa.
Okay. So you know more about football than you let on, Rick.
Alcoa.
Alcoa.
That's one of those games that there's absolutely no doubt it's going to be Alcoa. Yep. If they want to win it by 70, they'll win it by 70. All right, this is our last one, guys. Pigeon Forge is playing at Austin East. This is another non-region game. Austin East is the team that's in Scott High's region. Maybe one of the most intriguing games this week, and I can tell you on our Pigskin Picking panel, pretty evenly split between folks who picked Pigeon Forge and people who picked Austin East. And I can tell you what Tim Smith picked. He picked Pigeon Forge. And I can tell you what you picked, Rick Keaton.
I believe I picked Austin East.
I believe you did. You picked Austin East to beat Pigeon Forge. So with that in mind, Leslie, what do you think, Pigeon Forge or Austin East?
Austin East.
Pigeon Forge.
Tough, man. You're it.
I got to go with Pigeon Forge. I got to side with Kendall again on this one. I think it's going to be a close one. That's another one of those 50-50 games can go either way.
Yeah, if Austin East, I mean, if they show up, they'll put 50 on the board. If they just go through the motions, they'll put 12 on the board, and Pigeon Forge will win 14-12.
All right. Now, I said that was the last game. We actually have one more game to talk about, and that's the game that's going to be played Saturday afternoon at Neyland Stadium, Tennessee taking on UTSA. Do you guys even know what UTSA stands for?
No.
Yeah, I knew you would. Okay, it stands for Texas San Antonio, but don't feel bad because I was talking to an adult football fan who actually knows football earlier, and he didn't know either. And don't worry, Scott Gilbert, I didn't tell him it was you. It's Texas San Antonio. That's what UTSA stands for, and Tennessee is going to be hosting UTSA Saturday afternoon at Neyland Stadium. Tennessee's a big favorite in this game, but we all saw what happened to Tennessee down at the Swamp Saturday night. They didn't look very good. So, Kendall, you go first. Who do you think wins that game Saturday?
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee wins big on Saturday. There's no way. They're struggling a little bit, but no.
They win. I'm not sure how big, but they win.
Well,
okay.
it probably – I'm not sure they can cover the spread.
Exactly.
That might be a struggle, but Tennessee will beat UTSA. All right, so I'm going to let you guys sound off one more time before you get out of here and we wrap up this segment. And I'm going to start with Leslie. Leslie, I want you to tell me what you think Scott High needs to do. They're still very much in the playoff hunt in this region. Now, I know you've told us you don't know a whole lot about football, and that's okay. What Scott High have to do the second half of this season to get in the playoffs?
Well, I think they need to be more confident.
I 100%.
There you go.
100%. That may be the biggest thing that they could do for themselves. Would you agree with that, Rick?
I think they need to be confident. I'll add they need to be aggressive. They need to get over whatever the phobia is about not being able to offensively score points.
And Leslie, you've already told us you know more about basketball. You prefer basketball over football. As we're getting closer to basketball season, November is going to be here really soon. Was there one team that you're looking forward to playing because you know the gym's going to be really hyped and everybody's going to be into the game?
Well, usually I'd be excited for Halls, but I don't think we play them anymore.
Nope, they're off the schedule this year. So maybe Clinton or Anderson County or something.
Yeah, Anderson County.
Yeah, Anderson County. That'll be a big one.
Yes.
All right. So, Kendall, I asked her what Scott High's got to do to make the playoffs. I'm going to ask you the same thing. Oneida is very much not just in the playoff hunt. Oneida is very much in the hunt to win a region championship. And the outcome of games against Bledsoe and York in the upcoming weeks are going to determine that. What does Oneida have to improve on between now and then to win a region championship?
I think they just need to play how they know how to play and play consistently.
Diplomatic answer.
It certainly was.
Spoken like someone whose mom serves on city council. Very good. All right, guys, seriously, Kendall Mays and Leslie Boatwright, thank you both for joining us. Good luck the rest of this season and basketball season. I know you guys are looking forward to that as well. It's going to be here before we know it. We'll take a break. When we come back, Jackson Sharp is going to join us as this week's legend of the game. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network, live from the C. Michael Lake Technology Center in Helenwood as we get ready for our final segment, and that is, as always, our Legend of the Game segment. And Rick Keaton is joined by someone who is really synonymous with Scott High Athletics, been around a long time, and that's Jackson Sharp. Rick?
Well, not only that, I mean, his father, Doug, and I had a multi-year relationship, and it goes back to the time I was a freshman at Huntsville, playing on the Huntsville football team. Doug was the head coach at Huntsville that year. He was also our one of our freshman class advisors, or whatever you call them. So, you know, that's how long I actually knew your dad. And you know, just like you and I did, Doug and I'd be the last two guys standing in the parking lot after a football game, or the last two guys left in the gym, as we have done many times in your coaching career there like that. Yes. But Jackson Sharp, of course, his dad, Doug, his mom, Linda, and we appreciate you for being here with us, Jackson.
Appreciate you having me.
And when I was talking with you the other day, I said we'll just hit around on some subjects, but let's talk about your high school career. You played both football and basketball in high school. Yes. And who were your football head coach and coaches?
My first in high school was Coach Diggs, and my senior year, Coach Wright. That was his first year, so I played for Coach Wright. His first year at Scott High, and also, it was in addition to football and basketball, I also ran track.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah. So, but no, it was and you know, obviously enjoyed everything done sport wise. Football was you know, just one of them kind of, well, I mean, anybody that plays it, you know what it's like. It's really just hard to put it in words. The intensity, you know, the enjoyment, Friday night lights. You know,
and you had it better than some players would have, because you're coming from a Coach Diggs T formation system to the Coach Wright Delaware wing tee.
Yes.
Both designed on run first and do a lot of running before you ever throw the ball.
Absolutely. Coach Diggs, you know, there's a physical brand of football. There's no other way to put it. You know, didn't try to trick anybody. He lined up and you know, he just executed to the, you know, highest level, and just going to be more physical. And his ideal of a perfect football game was 28-0. You 3.5 yards every play, score one touchdown a quarter, hold the other team scoreless, and you win 28-0. You know, and it's been a, you know, physical beat down throughout the process of the game. You know, and that's the way we practiced. Anybody that played then, you had to be tough to get through it. 3-hour practices, and you spend the first, you know, hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half of, you know, doing defense and skill development and things like that, which a lot of 1-on-1 and 3-on-3 and 5-on-5 was all the time hitting involved, and then
with very few water breaks.
Very few. Well, we didn't allowed to have water breaks. Got caught drinking water, you had to run a lap. You know, you could get some ice, and that was it, or what they called swamp water. But then after that first hour and 15 minutes or so, then he'd, you know, say, let's go to the football field and start practice. You know, and he'd scrimmage for 2 straight hours, and there was no just wrapping up or anything like that. We went to the ground, and there's plenty of injuries you could say, but
at best I remember, even punt return, kickoff return were live drills. They were live drills. There was not let's kick it and catch it and everybody know where you're going. No, it was live. You had to go full speed.
There was no such thing as anything, done exactly like the game. The only thing actually that was not completely live was extra point. That was on did that a lot of times at the end of practice on Wednesday and certainly on Thursday. He would kick 10 in a row. That was not live then, but during scrimmage then it would be live. But yeah, it was just like the game, and it was and during games, there was no question we didn't run a whole lot of plays. It is fast 35 and quarterback 6 usually, and defense knew that as well. They would plenty of times they would set an extra guy right there in the 5 hole, just waiting for it to come, and he knew that. A lot of times in practice, would say that, or if you come over there and say, they put an extra guy there, and next time in school practice, he'd address that. Just say, just going to send an extra guy over there and take care of it. It is what it is. So there'd be times where the defense come over and say fast 35 again. So it wasn't no tricking. It's just who's going to execute the most.
And it was pretty. His offense, I want to say, was pretty simple. Blocking was there, and he was going to run fast 35.
Mm-hmm.
No matter if the other team did stop it, he knew at some point in the game it was going to work, and it was going to be big plays when it hit.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, as long as you got 3.5 yards, that kept you on schedule, and you march down the field, eat up the clock, and control the ball, and then just play tough, aggressive defense, and get a stop, and kind of win the game that way. Just methodical of slowly marching it down the field and being ball control.
Did you know when you were in high school that you might want to be a football or basketball coach, or is that looking too far ahead for you then?
It's probably looking ahead a little bit, but I think I kind of, in a way, I kind of felt like I would like to do that at some point. It's because I always like to study the game even at that point. I mean, Coach Diggs' offense, we didn't run a whole lot, but there was actually quite a bit in that offense.
Right.
And and I learned all that pretty quickly. I playing quarterback, and played that from the time I was a freshman year. And so even though we didn't run a lot of it, we would practice a lot of it, and I understood it and remembered it. And then moved into Coach Wright. Was, like I said, Delaware wing T. A little more. We had some wide outs there. We did throw the ball some. It gives so it was a little more, wide open, if you would say for that point in time, and I certainly learned that. And so, and same way with basketball, just learn the schemes of things. So I always been, interested and intrigued by the schemes of the game and the games within the game, if you will, that go on. So I think it's one thing you kind of wanted to pass that on. From the coaching standpoint later, I think I always kind of had that desire in there, just to kind of keep doing something sport related. Yeah.
Went off to college, came back, and what was your first coaching position?
Was an assistant over at Fairview for my dad. Yeah, Dad was head coach there and doing football, and I come back and kind of be an offensive coordinator there. So that was enjoyable. Get to coach with him, and.
Mm-hmm.
Mom was principal there at the time, and so we, just had a lot of fun. Actually, it really was just good players, and won some games, lost some games, but the kids were always played tough, and it's just and it was fun just to have the opportunity to do that. Really was, and then shortly after about 3 years doing that, by the time I started teaching in the school system full time, then Coach Gary Sexton asked me to be on his staff, so I came on there as a defensive assistant, and then Coach Gillum come next head coach, and so worked for him there. He was head coach, I think, 3 years, I believe, and then Coach Shannon become head coach, and asked me to be his offensive coordinator, and certainly appreciative of that. And just goodness, I don't know how many years I've lost count there. How many years we were probably, I guess, close to 9 or 10, I guess, somewhere in that range altogether. And just learned so much from every one of them, and just had just great time, great, and all the assistant coaches. My goodness, we just you all spend time with it. We have a blast, It just you put in tons of time working schemes, game planning, watching video, doing everything, getting prepped for games. But it's all so enjoyable at the same time as well. Just the trips back and forth to the games, and the time you spend there, just going through schemes and bouncing bouncing stuff off each other as far as this or that, and then just like I say, getting your practice plan and everything. So you spend a lot of time together and build a lot of good, great friendships.
You had this period working with Coach Gillum or like that, who Coach Gillum is one of the better offensive minds around. So you had that great opportunity to do that. Then the next step, as you said, was with Coach Shannon. Coach Shannon was not a spread guy. So a lot is to be said what he thought about you and the other coaches to come in and decide, hey, I want to stay with that offense that Coach Gillum, and he worked on Coach Gillum's staff too. Right. I want to stay with that offense, so he turned a whole lot of offense over to you.
He did, and you're right. He was come from typically down a little more run oriented, that physical, hard nosed, football. That's the kind of guy he is, and he did. He kind of let us continue on the spread and supported that, and give me the opportunity to do what we thought we need, learn as we went, make the changes we need to make, implement. He done the offensive line, and that's where things start, So that's probably the toughest part of it. So you got the offensive line took care of. I can, kind of sitting back there as Coach Gillum always used to call it, playing video games, that PlayStation. He's reading the defense and seeing what's out there and just knowing, knowing where to attack it. And
you maintained the same role as the OC when Coach Lambert was there too.
I did, yes. And Coach Lambert as well, yeah.
Coach Lambert says, hey, we got the personnel.
Right.
And he'd say, Jackson, he knows the offense. And so got to run. He's another guy that was certainly a run-oriented offensive mind.
He was. And Coach Lambert, like you said, Coach Lambert come in and, I was a little concerned with that because I'd been spread the whole time and talked to Coach Lambert about it. I said, look, not going to hurt my feelings a bit. I said, I really – I'm afraid because he wanted to be a little more run oriented and certainly understood that, and I'm not sure I can, we'll run that as effectively. I don't know that I understand it as well. And he said he had the confidence in me to pick that up and we do okay with it. And I don't know how okay we done with it really, because I picked it up, but I didn't know it as well as the spread system. And But yeah, Tony, he was great. He's kind of just
because he paid attention to all aspects of the game, but it started at the defensive side of the ball. He spent a lot more time there.
He did. He certainly did. Yeah, and he like you said, he's defensive oriented. Want to run his stuff, both sides of the ball, and so certainly understand that, and he just trusted, I could pick that up and run it, and we did. There were certainly some changes, that you had to pick up on, the way certain things were called from his traps, and we called it, we call it one way, and he called it, a different, and just had to be able to, just study that and pick it up, and then be able to, transfer that to the kids so that they were, certainly on page with what we were doing, but yeah, we did, and learned another offensive system right there. So, and a lot of great stuff, and so and that's been one thing we've kind of done is all the way through, try to pick up the really good stuff from every offense and kind of blend it in, and felt like we, as we went on, then, Coach Shannon, head coach again after that. We were a little bit different then than we were before. Before that, just because you just constantly pick up some good things, you see what's good and use it, and then implement it, and kind of marry it together within the system, and has a lot of good success. With kind of and that's the thing. A lot of people viewed us as a heavy pass offense, and we were, but at the same time, there was a lot of great run game built in. A lot of times spent on the run game, yeah. So it really just come down to reading the box. We'd read the box, look at the numbers game, and to a degree, let the defense kind of pick what we're. If they're going to stack the box, we're going to throw it all the time, and if they're going to empty it too much, we're going to, run right at it. And so it's just trying to, find different ways to create good positive matchups and so kind of what we focused on, and then using the tempo of the game and getting the ball in the playmakers' hands and opportunities to make plays, and it's just been being very, being sound, fundamental. Just look at it, we as we'd spend so much time on film and watching ourselves, but watching other teams and just game planning, especially defense, especially. Coach Shannon spent tons of time just working out tendencies, and it's just hours and hours that goes into it. But it helped, on Friday nights, didn't usually see anything that's going to surprise you.
Thinking back to when you played, who are some of your good friends, teammates? Maybe I want to use the word characters there that you remember from those high school teams.
I tell you, there's so many.
Well, I'll just pick 2 or 3 to get started with there.
I tell you, Joe West, the pastor now, is just, so, great guy, so physical, just played in the line most of the time, but also put it in the backfield. And just, great guy, physical guy. Stephen Burris, another one, same mode, physical guys, just tremendous guy. Hogue Thompson, Thompson Yamaha, he's, live right there, just right there within a half mile of each other. Another just, great guy, physical, can't say enough about him. Just, just enjoy to, be around. Wars on the football field, all the time. Just Ernie Marlowe, another great one. The late Troy West, another physical guy. It's like I say, and there's so many. You just Chris West, great back. Jamie Ellis, just like I say, there's so many. Jamie Lloyd, another great line. Play with it. I was younger. Dennis Jeffers, Mary Jeffers. I was a freshman. He's a senior, and played tight end. Another just tremendous guy. Obviously physical. And just so many. Aaron Smith. Another. Aaron kind of played halfback and quarterback as well. Could throw it a mile. So they really was just so many great guy. Darrell Bowles, another lineman, played guard for us a lot. But Doug Branham, Keith Anderson, back in the backfield. I know I wanted to play receiver when Coach Wright come in and was going to be throwing the ball. I wanted to play receiver, and Keith I was thinking he was going to play quarterback. Him or Hogue, and just as it worked out, Coach Wright, I want you to play quarterback. Hogue had broke his hand just right before the season started, and Keith was a great receiver too. It's kind of like I was like, I don't know which one's going to be where, and it turned out I ended up being quarterback and Keith being a receiver, but it worked out good for both of us because he brought in a lot of passes. He really did. So I got some passing yards.
Through the coaching career, what are there some games a couple of games that really stand out that went our way or went against us that really stand out? There were a lot of them because we went up. We went up against the Catholics and the CAK when they had some good teams under Rusty over there.
When Rusty, I tell you, me and Keith was talking about that. Just week or so ago that just all the environments that we've played in. Those games were so going to Elizabeth and twice, and just 2 wars right there. We're I think a touchdown short in both of them, and the first one he got a couple of touchdowns called back. And when you're growing up, you hear about those schools, and there's kind of that aura about them, like that's a different brand of football. But we were going up there and proving it's not. We were there to win. I knew we were there to win. And knew they escaped by beating us. But like facing Alcoa every year and sometimes twice. Those games make you so much better. Face those the staff that you coach up against, and with those teams and the athletes they have on the field. And the kids just going out there and competing. At first when you see them, sometimes it's kind of like you think, well, you're not sure, but our kids didn't do that. They go out there to win, and you get better from it. And when we got better, and as coaches, we got better as players, and you look forward to those matchups. Getting to I enjoyed the trip to Maplewood. Down
Maplewood
at Hillsboro.
Hillsboro, yeah. And it must have been the only football field in Middle and East Tennessee that didn't rain on all year.
Didn't rain on that night, right. So it's had to find the only drive I feel they could find. But that was love that trip and environment. And James Stone playing for them down there, went to the Falcons, and Greenville trips, enjoyed those.
Yes.
And like you said, Catholic and CAK, those the CAKs. I mean, those scoring fests that we had. And so many of the athletes that we were compete against, with, but between all those schools that not only went on to major D1, but with the NFL, Harrison Smith still playing, and those all those big games really come to mind. The CAK game here, I guess in 16, when Billy had has got his collarbone broke at Austin East, and that was bringing Trey and plays quarterback, and and it's just
at the third quarter, and people amazed. We said, well, in the second half we're going to start our tackle at quarterback, and people give us the crazy look like you're doing what?
Yeah.
They just didn't understand sort of the dynamic there that. Trey was a good quarterback in his own right. Billy obviously just a little bit better, but Trey could hold his own and get you 300 yards passing against many opponents.
Right, yeah, and that was an exciting game. Just right down to the last play there. So that one comes to mind. You think, with the talent Billy was, what if he's there? And Trey's can be, he's back in being able to play in the line and on defense, because he's a two-way player, So you just like, man, that what if?
You had the opportunity to be around really a lot of good quarterbacks and running backs.
Oh yeah.
Really strong bunch of receivers through that period of time, and it's going to be a team that's on our schedule in a couple of weeks. One of the most memorable games was over at Union County.
It was.
Bob left Bob Wright, to come out and come from 21-0 hole at halftime or something like that.
Yeah. We just had struggled in the first half, and they were content to sit back there. I think they were playing a lot of quarters, and we're kind of out of sync in the passing game, and had recognized what they were giving us right there in the run game. We just said we're going to stick with it until they change it, and it's kind of a saying that we've kind of had is I'm not the other team's D coordinator, and
Trey was the quarterback that night, I think, in that game.
I think it was Phillips.
Oh yeah.
Jake Phillips. I think Jake Phillips. Yeah, another big physical
guy, and it just came out, and Bob on Bob is back on back, or big on big, whatever you want to call it. But it's basically it's just running over the people in front of you.
Yeah, we understood their defensive scheme and set the formation so we get the little bubble we wanted to run at, and send our fullback through there and let Trey follow it, and until they adjusted where we knew we'd be able to throw what we wanted to throw in the pass game, we were going to stick with it. And we sat there and just took 8 or 9 yards at a time, and they were content to stay there, and I was content, to call it 20 times in a row if needed. So and like you said, it got us going, and after a couple of touchdowns, 2 or 3 touchdowns, then they had to change, and it let us get, we hit a couple of passes, and they were it's just one of them. Sometimes you don't always play your best, or you're having a little bit of an off night, and that was one of them. But the kids fought through it, and we took us a quarter or two. But we just took what they were giving us and stuck with it until they wanted to change. But we done that with Kingston. Goodness, I guess that was back in 09. Kind of the same thing. We were just kind of had a set that was going to give them some trouble with the defense they were wanting to play, and stuck with it until they could adjust to give us something else, and had a lot of success with it. But no, it was just great. I had the opportunity to just be with so many great head coaches and assistant coaches, and like you said, the players, just a lot of talented players, and just great character kids that just go out there and work hard, and they laid out on the field. We got to enjoy a lot of great football. There's just great memories, and sure they all have great memories. If it's anything like that, anybody's played football, you get around somebody else or somebody you played with, it usually comes up to topic, one of the football games. I'm sure they'll be the same way. There've been a lot of great memorable ones.
Sure have been.
Been wonderful.
You got anything you want to jump into, Jackson?
No, I'm just enjoying the conversation and thinking about the good old days.
Well,
I remember
good old day, yeah.
I don't remember Jackson's playing days, but I remember most of the games that you guys are talking about that Jackson coached in. Of course, some of them slip my memory because it's been a few years.
Yeah.
And you've seen I struggle to even get these kids' names right when they're right in front of me. But
and I mentioned that Union County game, and one of the most exciting games that I remember that I ever called that we played in. Unfortunately, it was a second-round playoff game, and we lost. But the dynamics of the game at Gibbs.
Oh my goodness.
At 48-45, I think.
48-45.
Overtime,
yeah.
Yeah, there. And of course, the winner got to play. Whoever won that game got to play Greenville. Gibbs went to Greenville and lost by 50. Something like that.
We were looking forward to getting to go to Greenville. Just for what we had looked at Greenville, we felt like if they had a weakness, I think they were number 1 at the time. If they had a weakness, it was in the pass defense, and we obviously threw the football a lot. So Jake Sexton at quarterback, and the receivers we had, Nathan Griffith and Smiley Gold and 2 Blakely brothers. We were we could sling it around, and Jake Butts in the backfield. Great line. I mean, we were looking forward to getting to go to Greenville. We really were, and Gibbs, Gibbs was stumbled. We come out a little bit slow, and they put up a couple of touchdowns, and then once we got rolling, it was
just back and forth. Yeah. Lead changes all night long.
Yeah, and like you said, it ended up I think 42-42 at the end of regulation, and I think we went through the first quarter. I'm not sure if we had scored or only had 7, something like that, and then just kind of got rolling, and and I was a little surprised that it once the kids got going, I was surprised that we only had 42 at regulation. I figured we'd put up a little more than that. But then they were good too. They were really good. But like you said, it was so exciting all the way right to really the last play, and so much on the line. Just because we really were. We were looking forward to get to go to Greenville to get an opportunity at them. But we felt like we matched up pretty good. We knew they were good, undoubtedly. But just what we'd watched, we'd seen we felt like if they had a weakness, it was in the secondary, and we felt like we could score on them, and felt like our defense would certainly give them trouble.
Right.
So it was one of them things we was looking forward to. Just one play short. But,
he definitely has been around a lot of those memorable games.
Yeah,
certainly have, Coach.
They were there. So many of them, I tell you. Just and there's so many that you know, you just keep on. You know, several of the Loudon games that we played. You know, those were just always wars. You know, in 10 down there. You know, that was a high scoring one, literally right down to the last play. And
was that the one that they started on the 2-yard line and went 98 yards to?
We punted them down to the 1, I think, or 1 or 2. Yeah, they went 98 yards, and you know, and still they left us about 30, 40 seconds, and we got back to midfield. But then we've had a couple here that were just kind of not as high scoring, but literally right down to the last couple plays, and kids just think about the when Tony the year Tony was head coach, they that one come right down the wire. I think we seemed like they don't remember exactly how it transpired. But I know we scored, they scored, took the lead, and we're down to just a minute or so left, and I think Smiley takes a kickoff back for run just back to about the 25, and then with just about a little under a minute to go, we punch it in, just drove it right in on them and scored with 10 seconds left or something to win the game. So yeah, a lot of great memories, great games, and that's when it's hard. You think about playing in those games. That was so much fun, but coaching them is so much fun as well too. I'm not sure which is. I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to do both. Right. So, but I've been fortunate. God's been good to me, and just to be able to experience both on the field and play the multiple sports and coach so many great kids with so many great coaches. Go ahead.
Jackson Sharp, our Highlander legend of the game for this week, and we could probably take another 2 hours if we had it to keep right on going, Ben.
At least, I think. Yeah, I think so. Jackson Sharp, thank you for joining us.
Appreciate y'all having me. Really, it's an honor, and just really appreciate what y'all do for our athletes and for the community, and just take the opportunity to give a shout out to my wife Dee Dee and young Maya watching, and my mom Linda. So, just appreciate y'all having me. It's been an honor.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, and that's going to do it for us on the round table tonight. Got some folks to thank, and it starts with the Scott County School System, Greg Bond, for their hospitality here at the C. Michael Lake Technology Center. Leetta Boyd's been here all night. Andrew's been running production. We thank all those folks. Thanks to Rick Keaton for being with me tonight. Tim will be back next week, thank goodness. And most of all, thank you to the student athletes who have joined us throughout tonight. Remember, Friday night, Oneida hosts Greenback. We will have the broadcast with the Baby J's Pizza pregame report beginning at 6:30 from Jim May Stadium. Until then, thank you for joining us, and good night.